morning to you all. Welcome to... Apparently we're in Tennessee. We have confirmed we are going north. We're not going west, young man. Nor am I young. Nor are we going north. We are on the Atsapaddlin, the only floating riverboat amateur mixed martial arts competition. I can say that safely because I haven't checked, but what are the odds? This is the Global MEGAFist 12. This is episode 9. We're focusing on the lightweights tonight. My name is Derek Osceola. I'm joined at a safe 6-foot distance by Lucille Crammelcorn. It's great to be here because, well, there's really nowhere else to go at this point. We are stuck on this riverboat. We have been since late March, early April, and yeah, that's kind of what our life is now.
Absolutely, Derek. It's fight day, and then it's just a unending, horrifying void of nothingness, punctuated by, and sometimes it feels like forced karaoke events and the buffet, and that's about it for me anyway.
Yeah, some of the days that does feel like the buffet is even a forced opportunity. I don't get me wrong. I am not in any way speaking ill of the buffet, but it does feel tedious. We are here on the Atsapaddlin. It is the Global MEGAFist 12, and we have the lightweights in action. For those maybe unfamiliar with the Global MEGAFist 12, this is the only amateur mixed martial arts competition on a floating riverboat. Not necessarily by choice, but we are currently floating going north on somewhere near Tennessee, I understand. But we have quite an evening of fights tonight. Our main event is a fight that many of us were talking could potentially have been a main event final in either this or last year's. The Goblin Rob Lynn taking on JC Switcher, our living mannequin. And this is going to be a great fight. Could even be, I mean, if the cards fall as they were, this could be a preview to a final.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, both guys, you know, it'd be a shock if one of them doesn't make it to the playoffs at the end of the I guess regular season, as you call it. These guys are incredible fighters, you know, and they're 2-0 this season. They're, you know, under 10 fights each, you know, in their total careers. It's impressive what they've been able to learn on the job, as it were.
No doubt about that. Absolutely.
On the unpaid internship, I guess, is more accurate.
7 and 6 wins respectively across the two of them. 7 for Lynn, 6 for Switcher. Of course, 2 of them coming this year, the others coming in last year's term. That is our main event, and 2 easily of the top notch lightweights, including, of course, Switcher, who won the 2019 Global MEGAFist 12. Another big one here, staying in that group, McGinnis Swordhouse and Rear Sergeant Val Gibbs, 2 fighters who have quite a reputation, quite a resume, especially in last year. Struggling this year, neither of them have gotten their first win. One of them's going to do it tonight. Could spell a trouble for the guy who comes up on the losing end of this one.
Yeah, as some other people might say, someone's always got to go tonight. You know, 0-2 is not where either man saw themselves from what they accomplished last season, but you know, this 2020 crop of fighters in the Global MEGAFist, especially at lightweight, they are tough. They have gotten better. We've got new faces. It's no easy wins here, and whoever goes 0-3 is going to be in pretty deep trouble for the rest of the season to not get relegated.
Yeah, it doesn't spell the end for either of them, but it makes for a very difficult fight for survival in the Global MEGAFist 12. Well, this talk of relegation and making the playoffs confuses you. We will explain it in just a bit. To round out that group, which is Group B, of course, Deputy Snooter Magnum, a newcomer, winner of the Hyperfist, taking on Charlie Valentine. This is a very intriguing matchup. Both fighters at 1-1. Could be a great one here.
100%. You know, Magnum. You know, he's new to a lot of people. To us, you know, we didn't cover the Hyperfist as extensively, but he's looked pretty good so far. Valentine's a bit more known, but you know, 1-1 is a pretty good spot to really build some momentum with a win. 2-1 is going to be a great opportunity to move forward as this regular season moves on.
No doubt about that. We head over to the other group. Walter Birch has come on strong since coming in from the Hyperfist. He is 2-0. He takes on Zeke Apnea, a very surprising 2-0. Apnea may have come to improve himself this year in the Global MEGAFist 12. He's had some big wins in last year after suffering his first knockout. He kind of maybe got put to sleep and got some well-needed shut-eye, but Walter Birch has shown he is not above putting a beating on someone. He's going to be looking to get a third win tonight.
100%, Derek. I mean, Zeke, I think it's a two-pronged combination of his, I guess, his circadian rhythm being reset with that knockout, actually going to at least a brief restful slumber, and then just not living above an underground fight club situation. He's been on the Atzapatlan for, as we said, several months now. But Birch, I mean, he's a school disciplinarian by trade, but he has shown just as effective at doing violence upon grown adults, which,
Well, the transition is not always an easy one, but he has made it seem very easy. I mean, any person can discipline a child. However, it takes a special kind of man to put that same excitement and emphasis into disciplining an adult in the fight game. Another fight on our hands. Miroslav Florislava, always a good favorite in the lightweight division, always a potential to win the whole thing, especially after last year's performance. Takes on Cale Howard, who finds himself at 0-2, struggling to survive. I don't know if Cale Howard's got a good shot here, but we've seen some strange results. Miroslav Florislava's already 1-1. Could be seeing another one here tonight.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, this season, it's maybe leaning so heavily on what happened last year is not the best. These guys coming in last year had no fight experience. They're learning what works and what doesn't, but anything is possible in that octagonal like cage structure on the fight deck here on the Atzapatlan. And Cale Howard just has to believe in himself and put forth the kind of effort to defeat a guy like Miroslav Florislava, who is always a tough customer.
Yes, again, Apnea, a strong vegan activist, so belief in anything is not a hard problem for him. Self-belief also gonna be a big one as well. And we close out the recap of our fights tonight with this one. Trevor Serrano, he wants to make a big name for himself. He's got a good chance to do it against a man who struggled and had problems getting wins here in the Global MEGAFist 12, Ruben Fondant.
Yeah, Fondant is, I think he's kind of lucky, to even be in the Global MEGAFist for the 2020 season, because he has not had a great career overall. Serrano is always dangerous, always deadly. Fondant's going to have to be really careful to not end up 0-3 at the end of the night. Yeah,
a big mystery is Trevor Serrano. That's, I think, one of the greatest assets of him is he's a big mystery. He's a riddle and enigma wrapped and shrouded in a cheesy shell. And also, we know he's a school guidance counselor. We know there's some sort of mysterious other life or past of his. He's covered in these tattoos that look oddly familiar. He loves wearing blue, but we don't really know much more about that mysterious past that he doesn't like to talk about. See if he can put that to use in a fight that can propel him up the standings. Well, that is going to do it for our preview tonight. Our rules, of course, for those unfamiliar, this is, of course, amateur mixed martial arts. 3 rounds of 150 seconds or 2.5 minutes each. The 10-point must scoring system is in effect, so the round winner getting 10, his opponent getting 9 or less. Of course, no to the groin, no hitting the back of the head, no Mr. Bond, I expect you to die, and of course, no one is getting paid. And if any of our fights go to a decision, the judges will score it based on aggression, damage, control, and who was the fastest in our Riverboot escape room that we have on board, which I didn't know about until just recently. Although, again, after you do it once, it kind of becomes less interesting. So that is our criteria for tonight. I think it's time to get some fights going, Lucille.
Sounds really great to me, Derek. Let's jump right in.
Well, we're getting things started with this Deputy Snooter Magnum taking on Charlie Valentine in a big middle of the table battle. Should be a fun one. Cannot wait for this one. It's happening right now. In this one, 155 pounds is going to be the weight class for these fighters. As we see, there's a bit of a height advantage on Deputy Snooter Magnum. And the reach advantage, well, yeah, and there's going to be, well, the talent show, I'm not sure how much I want to read about that, but that's what we have. We have a seductive dance.
You ready?
I assume to make someone feel
Let's
loved.
fight!
As is our matchmaker, the Oklahoma Cupid.
First the hands, there you go.
I don't know with these strange people. I mean, I know they had their lives outside of fighting, but honestly, for the most part, they can just fight. As far as I'm concerned,
they don't really translate to a talent show necessarily. Although again, Deputy Snooter Magnum is going to put treats on his nose, and I imagine he's going to eat them from off his nose. Which, you know what? I can watch a dog do that all day. So maybe a human doing that will be just as fun and not at all creepy.
I mean, it's a much smaller nose. It's gonna, I guess, be interesting to see how well he can balance.
It will be tricky. Yes, I imagine that.
I don't know what is it, a cookie, I guess? I don't know what he would balance on his nose.
Maybe we'll have to bring something from the buffet. I don't know, from the buffet. Anywho, there is we are about a minute into this first fight, and the sad reality of life right now for Lucille and myself is really starting to set in. However, we've got Magnum is actually taking control over the respected ground fighter, Charlie Valentine, who's got the, just as I say, he reverses it. But this ground battle is what we were...
Yeah, I was just saying it was a nice reversal from Valentine to get out of that bad bottom position. And as I say that, Snooter Magnum reverses him, so...
And just to be clear, these fighters cannot hear us. We are secluded in another room. Behind various amounts of plexiglass and plate glass and other types of glass implements. So this is, there's just glass everywhere. It worries me on a boat.
Of our commentary affecting their fighting techniques.
To be fair, I don't think it would if we're in the same room and they could hear us. To be completely honest with you. However, that is neither here nor there. We're seeing good escape from the bottom. Using the cage is Charlie Valentine and Magnum just going for that shoot again. Very dog-like focus. That focus on one thing and one thing that excites him quite a bit. And he can't focus on anything else. He goes for that takedown.
Yeah, he is latched on tight with this body lock, looking to drive Valentine to the ground as often as it takes.
That's going to be the end of our first round. So we have an interesting, a bit of a cagey affair. There's going to be...
Now, on the ground, you can
they are
catch
ready to
it
go
all
for
day
the
long
long
by
haul.
tying on
Neither
the
fighter
arm.
looks
You
too
can catch it all day long.
tired. I will say a lot of... I don't exactly know what bloodied up the nose of Valentine. But it looks like he took a lot of damage.
You swim that on. Good.
Yeah, I think Snooter was landing some little short shots when he was on top, and he had a couple of moments of some big, postured up ground and pound, but I think it was just a accumulation of damage that really busted up Charlie's nose.
Fair enough. Well, of course, our cut men and cut people, I suppose, are using our best medical first aid kits, whatever we can find on board here.
Gentlemen,
But they are patching him up nicely, and actually it doesn't look too bad. Just a little bit of damage over that eye. Took care of the nose pretty quickly.
Let's
so maybe
fight!
just a little bit of an abrasion. Nothing too serious.
Don't chase him!
Can't imagine it'll affect him for the long haul.
Look down,
Valentine
go
does have a
upstairs.
habit of going long into fights. He's got 4 finishes out of 7 fights. Oddly enough, yeah, all of his wins have been. He has finished all of his fights. To be fair, however, he doesn't. He's not afraid to show he's got the stamina.
Perfect work. Yep.
Yeah, I mean, I guess for a relationship guru, it's good to show that he's in it for the long haul.
And patience, I suppose. I don't know. I guess these are good relationship sort of strategies. I guess I'm not entirely certain how you would. In last year we talked a lot about how maybe someone's regular job would translate over to maybe fighting. If there are skills involved. I don't know how, if you are a matchmaker, like if you are someone who sets people up to fall in love with one another, those skills translate, but that might be it.
Yeah, I mean, that, or I guess maybe, being able to analyze personality types and if you know someone is aggressive in terms of, how they're going to approach a potential partner, you don't necessarily match them up with someone who's going to be too timid or shy. And just the same, if you know that Deputy Snooter Magnum is going to aggressively go for takedowns, big ground and pound, you work on that to avoid that as best you can.
This I like. I like that idea. You're saying he's taking his days as a matchmaker and applying it to a different type of matchmaking, in the sense of like a fight matchmaker, where he knows what makes for a good opponent. Well, that's as good of an idea as any, as far as I'm concerned. I'm sold on that.
Opposites attract, and I guess the opposite for an aggressive takedown artist is to take them down yourself and just ground and pound them, and that'll maybe dissuade them of that approach in the next round.
I mean, that's as good of a
20 seconds.
that's as good of a reason as any as I could find, and I don't at all attribute to the fact that we're getting a bit stir crazy here on the Atsa Paddling. That being said, I think that's a very good round for Valentine, I must say. I think he dominated that one on the ground for the most part. And Magnum, if he's in his corner, I think at best he might have to say he has to come out and win this third round.
He's tired.
It's gonna be a tough one.
Absolutely, I think he took some big shots on the ground from Charlie Valentine in that second. I'm not a judge, but I would say that's a all even scorecard in my book.
Good as guess as mine. I think that you can give the first one to Magnum fairly confidently. I think that's a good. I think that's even more certain to give this one to Charlie Valentine, as I think he did everything he needed to win that round 10-9. It's going to be an interesting one if this goes to a decision.
Gentlemen,
third round,
ready?
everything to
Ready?
fight for. And we'll see how it plays out.
Let's
Maybe
fight.
one of them will go for a finish. Maybe we'll see one of them ride it out.
Come on, punch it. Let your hands go.
It's going to be interesting to see.
1-6.
Again, just going to see who's going to come out aggressive and who's going to maybe take a step back and let that person.
Well, the initial answer to that one is Valentine. He comes out very aggressive and scores that takedown. Now he's confident in his ground game. And I think he's just basically saying, look, this is what I'm good at. Come beat me at it. It's a very interesting I don't want to say interesting strategy, but it's a very interesting sort of mind game to play.
Take the back.
Yeah, it might even be that he, you know, he was letting Magnum, you know, do a lot of not a lot of heavy damage as we saw in terms of, you know, cuts and things like that in the first round, but you know, he was seeing how well Snooter composed himself on the ground, and I guess he figured it was easy enough to dominate, so he just sort of let Deputy Magnum, you know, kind of tire himself out, just doing a lot of work without a lot of results in that first round, and he is.
Well, so far it seems to have worked. I must say, it definitely looks like it worked. In that, what we have,
that is a TKO.
That certainly is. I was just gonna say he took him down and got the win. And wow, that is 4 big points. And again, every point does in fact matter in this case. That could spell the difference between, well, you know, 4th and 5th, or even perhaps 2nd and 3rd in this tournament. That is 4 points for Charlie Valentine, just finishing the fight in the 3rd round and continues his streak of winning every fight by a finish.
That was a very good performance from Charlie Valentine.
It was, and he gets to recover for a little bit. That is a huge 4 points for him. Puts him further up in the standings, gets him a little separation from the newcomer. Coming up next, we've got another big fight. Our next one, let's wait for the graphic to come up here on the screen. It is Trevor Serrano versus Ruben Fondant on the other side of the group stage of this Global MEGAFist 12. This is coming up right now. Tape for this one. Trevor Serrano, Ruben Fondant, about even in this. About a 1-inch reach advantage for Serrano, and well, candy sculpting for Ruben Fondant. I understand he's also going to cry the entire time.
Well, that seems fitting for Fondant. I mean, you look at the tail of the tape though.
Let's fight.
You know, very similar. You know, heights, reaches, all that stuff, but you know, overall records, Serrano has been much more successful, and you know, it's obviously an intangible, but I think heart and motivation are really what's propelling him over guys like Fondant. I mean, you know, Fondant, his soul was broken before he even joined the Global MEGAFist, and
100%. True. That's absolutely spot
Make him reach it and make him pay.
It's hard to go out there and fist fight another man when you know your heart's just not in it because a bunch of toddlers ruined a master class crafted, you know, Shrek cake.
Yes, I understand. He speaking of, he actually has signed up for master class, Mr. Fondant. He's teaching using whatever sort of internet we are able to get when we can get it on this boat to maybe he has a really good data plan. I don't know, but he has been teaching on one of those like master class sort of sites. And I understand he still, despite teaching other people how to bake, as Sereno has a great arm triangle option, this could be very deep for him.
This might be it.
This could be, yeah, it's looking really bad. And that is, no, he actually gets out of it.
Perfect.
Well, kudos to Fondant for that. He's handling that better than his virtual classes that he's teaching, where I understand, despite teaching people how to craft beautiful cakes, in the end, still, somehow, a lot of them will have their children come in and just destroy them.
Yeah,
Cruel reality we live in.
Absolutely. You know, he really should have used or gone into a more friendly medium, like maybe clay sculpting.
Sculpting, yeah, exactly, yeah.
Watch your breathing, buddy.
Less likely that children are going to want to destroy and eat something beautiful that he creates. And don't get me wrong, he does create beautiful masterpieces with the fine arts of baking. But yeah, again, it's just sometimes kids just have to destroy things.
Yeah, I mean, he has, I've seen some of his pictures. He has created a life-size replica of himself in cake, and it looked exactly like him. And
You use the past tense.
yeah, it was, you know, it was like, I think, in between the 2019 and 2020 seasons, just on his off time before he was taken in, but it was like, you know, you see Ruben Fondant standing there and it's like, oh wait, he's cake. That man is cake.
When you're
It's like,
throwing
wow.
punches and he's catching them,
Were
he's
you
out
not aware of
wide.
that
You
at
can
first?
come
Was
up
it
with the
that
uppercut.
lifelike?
Okay?
It was so
you gotta
lifelike.
stay
I
on
mean,
balance,
it,
you gotta keep moving
you know,
forward
there was
while you
a
punch.
slight, you
And
know,
can't stop
sheen
in
of
one
sweat.
place, okay? When you're done
You know,
punching,
it
you
looked like Ruben Fondant. It was
Just amazing.
But nope, that man is cake.
Wow, he ended up being cake after all.
Yeah.
And I goodness, I mean, that would, I mean, I don't know how you find that out suddenly, unless he was right there next to you or somebody, you know, cut into him. I mean, that seems like that would be horrifying to see, someone cutting into something you think is a human, and it turns out to just be cake. But
Yeah, someone cut into his arm, and I guess it
Oh!
was a raspberry like filling, and it started coming out, and I was horrified. And then I saw the layers of delicious cake.
well,
And
that is traumatizing.
it still shook me to my very core. But
Just describing it to me alone is horrifying.
that's why anytime I run into Mr. Fondant on the Atzapadlin, I do give him a small poke or a squeeze to make sure he is flesh and not baked goods.
Well, his flesh is taking a beating, and if there's cake, there's icing coming out. That's not raspberry, that's a TKO. Poor
That
Ruben
was
Fondant.
violent.
Put a very good effort up there, but Trevor Sereno just finds a level of violence that he just like taps into some. Again, it's that mystery of his past that we don't truly understand, but he just taps into something, and he has just this. You know, I don't even know how to put it. He just has this level he goes to, this place he goes to, of violence, and for someone who is a guidance counselor, someone so docile, someone so peaceful, he certainly knows how to get a big victory.
Oh, absolutely. That guy is scary. I would not like to run into him in a dark alley situation.
No doubt about that. And I imagine even if he was alone, he'd be scared. But the weird feeling that he would run with a crew of equally terrifying people. Well, Trevor Sereno is your victor, and that is our what a great start to this. I mean, Trevor Sereno looking really strong in this one, and I think it's going to take a quick break from the action to explain. If you're new to the Global MEGAFist 12, this is your first time checking us out, welcome. This is a league-based mixed martial arts competition, and, well, the best way to explain it is with this video. We're going to give it to you, and we'll be right back with more action.
The Global MEGAFist 12 is a grueling competition like nothing ever seen before in mixed martial arts. First, the 12 fighters are drawn at random into 2 groups of 6 fighters each. Each fighter will face off against the other 5 in their group. A win is worth 3 points, while a draw is worth 1. In addition, bonus points are awarded for how fast a fight is won. Winning in the third round is worth 4 total points, a second round win is worth 5, and finishing a fight in the first round gets you 6 points in all. After all 5 rounds of competition, the 2 fighters who finish in last place are relegated from Global MEGAFist 12 and must earn their way back in next season. They will be replaced by 2 fighters from the IRMstream qualifying tournament. The 2 fifth-place fighters will be matched up against 2 more fighters from the IRMstream qualifiers, with the winners earning their spot in next season's Global MEGAFist 12. The top 2 fighters from each group advance to the semifinals, where the first-place fighter from each group will take on the second-place fighter from the other. The winners of these fights will do battle for the championship. It all comes down to one thing: win, and win fast. And the title of Global MEGAFist 12 champion awaits.
There you have it. That is about as succinct an explanation of how this tournament works. It started in late March, early April. We go all the way through the end of this calendar year. That is how long we're going to be on this ship. Anyway, coming up next is Beginner's Swordhouse versus Rear Sergeant Val Gibbs. Neither of them have won yet this year. I'm gonna go cry while we cut to this fight happening right now. These are 2 tough fighters. Gibbs has the slight height and reach advantage. I'd like to pay attention. I don't know how Beginner's Swordhouse is going to joust for us. I'm not gonna lie. I really would like to see that.
Is he gonna need a volunteer, or is he just gonna like explain the finer points of jousting?
Let's go, guys. Fight.
Well, I certainly hope he doesn't just explain the finer points. I'd like to see a jousting demonstration. I most certainly will not be volunteering, but perhaps he has some sort of dummy. I mean, he's been here for a while. There's arts and crafts abilities. You could conjure up some sort of.
Oh god, I hope
we have this is a gym. We have grappling dummies and things in the back. I mean, we could probably come up with something.
Yeah, but I'm just wondering now. I hope he's not getting fondant to make him a cake man to joust.
Oh no.
That would
Oh,
devastate
no.
Rupert.
Oh, just being on a horse. How does he have a horse on this ship? I don't even understand. Well, anyway, he's got a guillotine. Whether or not he has a horse is a question for another time. But a question that I certainly would like to know the answer to as well.
Perfect. Beautiful.
Absolutely. I mean, I feel like there's so much of the Aztapatlan that I just don't.
It's a very strange. It's a very strange place.
I mean, part of it's to keep the mystery alive, so I have something to do as the months roll on.
No doubt
You know,
about
like-
that. I really would like to do some wandering around this ship. I feel like I worry that I've done this too much already.
Yeah. I mean, you mentioned that escape room. I'm trying desperately to hold off looking at that for as long as possible, just
That's
to.
fair. I think
Keep
that's a good. Yeah. It'll give you something to do eventually. It does not have a high replay value. You cannot do it more than once, really. It is a thing that.
There it is.
There's basically just one way to solve it, and when you solve
Yeah,
it, you
pretty
solve
much.
it.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, there's codes and there's puzzles, and again, I don't want to say anything close to it because there's codes and there's puzzles, and once you know them, then that's the escape room.
I mean, I guess I could go and intentionally fail it a couple of times just to keep that, like work out one puzzle and then fail the rest of it, and then.
It's a fairly easy one, to be honest with you. It's going to be really hard to not do it right the first time. But nonetheless, it's worth giving a try. If it helps pass the days, I'd say go for it. Now, back to the fact that there might be a horse on this ship, but also back to the fact that this fight has been going on, and Rear Sergeant Val Gibbs has the upper hand. Again, his talent, respecting the troops. Didn't know you could put that down as a talent, but here we are.
Okay, he's tired. His legs are tired.
And again, a proud soldier.
Push the pace. Push the pace.
And when you ask him
back,
what
you fight
in
that
what
2-on-1. If he gets
branch
that
of the
body lock,
military he
you
will
gotta
tell you
fight
that
it
is
off.
classified,
Now,
and I respect
on the
that.
ground, you can catch him all
Oh,
day long,
absolutely.
right on that arm.
Some
You can catch him all
things
day long,
are
okay?
for his safety, some things are for our safety.
Got it all
That
day
we
long.
should just not be at liberty to have that information. It's not our. It's beyond our pay grade, as it were.
100%, I would agree with you on that one, Lucille. I think that's an important thing to know is that, without question, Rear Sergeant Val Gibbs is a proud
Don't let your
patriot
back sit
of
in the cage, okay?
Are you ready?
Doom this country, but we have no reason to think otherwise. And that is something to
Let's go,
remember
guys, fight.
as he is taking on Beginner's Sword House.
I mean, I agree, but there's definitely, nothing to say that, a guy like Rear Sergeant Val Gibbs doesn't believe that all countries matter and all militaries are.
Yes, which I think is part of why he has spent some time serving other branches of the military outside of this very country. I think that's part of why he can't answer that. Maybe he was serving in Guam, which is still part of the U.S., but that was a bad example. Maybe it was maybe Guinea-Bissau is the first one I went to.
I mean, maybe he was part of Jerome Glorioso's French and Arctic lands.
That is
military.
possible. There could be a bit of a crossover there. We actually had never seen them interact, so that is very much a possibility. All I do know is that his military service, despite lack of proof, is unquestioned
Oh, 100%.
by
You-
us
you
and by
can't-
any right-thinking person.
Yeah, I mean, it's very disrespectful to question it, so we don't.
Yes. We believe that any valor he has, he owns and owns legally. And why shouldn't he? That is valor that he has gotten through his many years of service in such branches of the military as the Guard, which I'm making up because I don't actually know.
I mean, he was possibly even born a troop, and it has been one ever since his.
I didn't know that was even a thing you could do.
Get busy here.
I mean, some people say soldiers are bred not made.
Come down with a good
So
one.
Very fair point.
Clear those legs. Back up.
He is leading this ground battle against Swordhouse, who has really been struggling. For a man who had such knockout power in the 2019 tournament, he's really come up short quite a bit
Perfect work.
in this tournament so far. They're both fighters 0-2. 0-3 is going to be just an absolute disaster for either of them.
Hands up.
But
Watch
we haven't seen the power from Swordhouse that we're used to.
30 seconds.
yeah, he's I think the chainmail shorts. We mention I think fairly often that it seems like a lot of times they simply weigh Swordhouse down more than
Time,
they
stop, time, guys.
and his power, his position.
I don't really
control.
understand. Yeah, as we go to the third round, I don't really understand why one would wear chainmail
He's
shorts.
tired. His legs are
I mean,
tired from trying to
unless
hold
he's
that.
expecting just a ton of kicks to the thigh.
Which,
Get
yeah,
that
that's
back
fair. I
and
guess
fight
that's
that
extra
2-on-1. If he
padding.
gets
That's
that body
nothing.
lock, you gotta fight it off.
You know, we're not really in any sort of state that has a commission, so we
He's
can't
tired.
really.
His legs are tired from trying to hold
We
that.
can't tell him no.
Okay, push the
Yeah, we
pace.
can't.
Push
We
the
literally
pace.
cannot tell him no. There's no one that has the authority to do that.
Literally, ain't no law says you can't do that.
Yeah, ain't no law when you're on
And
the
I mean,
ass
that
of
was-
paddling.
I mean, that was kind of even true when we were in Missouri.
Missouri,
which,
yeah, in Missouri, but not much different than Untamed Waters.
Oh, absolutely. But that is a horrible closed up eye on Rear Sergeant Val Gibbs. That is going to be a tough injury to overcome in this third
Well,
round.
you would say that, but not a man with the sort of vision
ready?
and
Are you
sort of
ready?
ability to overcome, handicaps like
Let's
that
go, guys. Fight.
on the field of battle. I'm sure he's told you about the Blind Eye Brigade that he was part of. I don't know anything about that. I don't understand what it is. I don't even know if it's real. But you know what? I do believe that it is real.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, he mentioned it, and that's enough for me.
He is an honored troop. There is no reason we would ever doubt a man who claims to be part of the military. I mean, what sort of lowlife would you have to be to
Got plenty of time.
make a claim that you were a proud soldier and a proud patriot and a hero? You know, we toss that word around a lot, and we don't want it to lose its meaning, but I would dare say hero. Rear Sergeant
Yes.
Val Gibbs.
Pressure.
1,000%, Derek.
I don't know what sort of person would even fake that sort of, just
Hands up,
honorable
feet
resume.
down. Knee down, elbow.
When you ready, explode.
It's baffling who would do such a thing, but Gibbs is he's on top right now. He's put some good damage on Swordhouse's eye as well. These guys have been fairly evenly matched in these first two rounds. This is
It's a very tough one for the judges. Yeah.
There we go. 2 minutes.
Yeah.
I will also say that one of those things where
Hands up. That's
how
it.
the fighters look after a fight. It's not an official scoring mechanism, but if a fight's really close to call, you look at which guy looks more beat up, and you kind of figure maybe he lost the fight. So, again, that eye getting
Beautiful.
closed up on Gibbs. Maybe that's him returning the favor, giving a little receipt
There you go. Nice.
to begin at Swordhouse.
Yeah, some fighters mark up a little easier. Whether it's skin cuts a little easier, they bruise a little easier. It doesn't always mean that they're more damaged, but it certainly can sway judges if everything else is fairly equal. Who looks worse at the end of a round is
Scar
sort of
tissue
big.
opens up easily. That of course is a danger, but these guys are fighting every once a month at this point. That is not a lot of time to let cuts heal, to let
There you go. Get in there.
literally anything heal, and we're seeing it as we're getting to the closing seconds of this round.
20 seconds.
I don't want to use the term too close to call, but it's a really tough one. I could not, if you gave me the money to bet, I would not bet on this one because I'd be afraid of losing even someone else's money. That's how
All right,
close
stop,
I think
stop,
this one
stop.
is.
Fight's over, guys.
Totally agree, Derek. It's I mean, a coin flip seems it discounts the great fight we had, but this is so close to call. Razor thin margins on who took this one.
Agreed, and we're seeing as that third round could be the deciding one. Yeah, nice takedown by Gibbs. Swordhouse had a good comeback. Again, he got bloodied up pretty nicely in the eye region. Both these fighters are going to have quite a lot of damage to overcome.
Yeah, it's just a shame that someone's going to be 0-3 at the end of this. No one really deserves to lose. This was so close. It's
Exactly. I would have to agree with you on that one, Lucille, but we do have a decision coming in, and this will be interesting. Who will it go to? It's the Guinness Swordhouse getting his first win, and I gotta say, I'm kind of surprised that this is his first win, that he's getting it via decision. This is not a guy who wins by decision. This is a guy who knows how to finish fighters. I think it also tells you how tough of an opponent the proud patriot, the war hero Rear Sergeant Val Gibbs is.
Oh, absolutely, and we saw that close up of Swordhouse's eye. That was a nasty cut he had.
No doubt. Well, our fourth fight, gonna be another interesting one. Another fighter trying to avoid going 0-3. Cale Howard facing a tough opponent in Miroslav Florislava. That fight is happening right now. Tail of the tape for this one. Well, okay, you know what? I would like to see Miroslav Florislava walk on hot coals. That is an appropriate thing for a talent show. You know, again, they're both fairly undersized, on the shorter end of the heights for Cale Howard, especially only 5'4". Pretty close to it, but I'd certainly rather see Miroslav Florislava walk on hot coals than Cale Howard do some tofu sculpting. That seems a bit.
Let's fight.
I mean, I feel like we're already going to see something much more delectable from Ruben Fontan, but that's just
Couple jabs if he's backing
Yeah,
up.
I mean, at least Cale probably won't be crying the whole time while he's doing it, so that's a slight bonus, but other
He'll
than that,
probably be
it's,
lecturing us though. He'll probably be lecturing us though while he's doing it though, which is not much better. Do not get into a room by yourself with this man. He will not stop talking about veganism and all of the things. And look, if you live a vegan lifestyle, that is fine. I respect
Don't
that.
stand there.
You know, I was a vegetarian for quite some time in my adult life. I will tell you that is not an easy thing to do here on the Acid Paddle. There is meat on everything.
yep.
Everything is just coated in chili, or at the very least, some sort of starchy spray liquid. That's kind of an off-white yellowish color.
They have salads that are just kind of tossed in bacon grease for unknown reasons.
Maybe that's what that off-white yellowish color that I'm seeing is. It's the bacon. Yeah, perhaps.
behind it. Make him
Not a
reach
dressing,
and
it's
make
just
him
bacon.
pay.
Why not? On your salad, sure.
I want to hook up.
Because the dressings contain actual chunks of bacon. Like, all of the dressings have chunks of bacon in them already.
Yes,
Like,
that's
you
not
think
just
a
like
salad-
not just bacon ranch or like a bacon blue cheese, something where it would make sense. No, we're talking like bacon Italian.
Don't do anything sloppy.
Bacon vinaigrettes, and you can just, like, it's a salad bar, so they just have, you know, the little tub of bacon bits to add on the salad.
And that is
as
not
well.
that is an actual tub. You're not even being exaggerated. Yeah, there is just so much bacon to be consumed on this salad bar that it is an uncomfortable thing to witness. You find someone who enjoys it and they just go to town on it. It's no man should eat this much bacon. No human should eat this much bacon in their lifetime, let alone in one sitting. Here we are.
Yeah. Yeah, maybe a pack of wolves could do the kind of damage to some pigs that apparently is demanded of the Atsapadlin, but for humans it seems unreasonable.
And you know what? I understand. This is not like a livable condition. The Atsapadlin has not been a habitable riverboat, even a working riverboat for years. So I understand we have to get our rations sent to us in some way, and whatever case we can. We're thankful for that. We are kind of, at this point, castaways and stowaways. But, maybe less bacon next time, please, if I can put in a request.
Don't chase him. Use your range.
Yeah.
We are at the end of the first
Be
round,
sharp
and
with
I
that.
gotta say,
You gotta
Florislava
work.
probably
You gotta get you off.
took that round. It looks like he had a very,
So you gotta follow
very
him
strong
on range.
showing.
He's backing up
Yeah,
square.
he did get dropped fairly early. He recovered very well, though. Recovered so quickly, in fact, that as Cale Howard was sort of diving for a follow-up punch, he completely whiffed and just kind of face planted, and it was kind of funny because you don't get those kind of moments too often in MMA, but
No,
when
you
they
don't.
did,
And again, when the man who thinks that meat causes autism as his, which, I mean, do I need to even say that is clearly not true?
Yeah.
There's not even a study that tries to point that out. There's literally nothing.
Yeah, and we've mentioned that, and he said, yeah, but there's no study that says that it doesn't. So,
Which he's right, but that's not how science works.
yeah, but you just kind of you let him, you let a guy like Kale just sort of talk at you for a good 5-10 minutes, and you just sort of nod and say, oh, I'll think about that. That's really interesting, and then you slip away.
Yeah, well, and if ever you bring up some other, anytime you bring up, you say, well, these are the facts that I've seen. He says, well, those facts might be your opinion, and that sentence alone just does not make sense. Just, do not talk to this man. It's not worth it.
I mean, triangle from
Look at
Cale
this.
Howard. He might.
It's a possible. This would be a huge upset. I mean, goodness me, Miroslav Florislava taking a second loss in the group stage would be very surprising to not just me, but to everybody, I think.
Yeah, Howard's short, but he's got lanky legs. His torso is kind of the small section on him. It doesn't provide big lungs for a lot of cardio, but his arms and legs are pretty decently sized for just being 5'4".
What a lovely way to say the man might be malnourished. Again, I'm not saying the vegan lifestyle is one that doesn't involve nutrients. Not at all, but I think this man takes it a little bit too extreme.
2 minutes.
To the point
Yeah.
that I think he's actively starving himself. Like, I think there's even some plants that he will refuse to eat, which, again, you're really running out of options.
Knees down, elbow.
Yeah, he kind of ticked me off the other week. He saw me reading a book, and he grabbed it and threw it off the deck because he said that ink is made from murdered squids, which maybe in the past it was, but as far as I can tell, that has not been the case for a very long time. And
Yeah, that's I don't necessarily know
Look down, then go
enough about squids and ink to know that that's true or not, but
octopuses have ink, but
yeah,
that big corporation is not like
harvesting squids. Yeah, I would agree with you on that one. Despite my lack of knowledge of pens, however, that's quite the claim to be made, I suppose. We head to a third round. I will say, to the credit of
Fire on. You own him when you spin him. You understand? When you angle off.
Cale Howard, he's hanging in there. He's taking a lot of punishment. He has the ability to take a lot of punishment as well.
Right?
So I will give him that.
Good.
Absolutely, he is a tough son of a gun to put away.
And you're gonna have to start setting it up.
But Florislava, again, maybe seems like, I don't want to say he might have lost a step, but perhaps the competition has kind of caught up a little bit to a man that, his biggest strength was his inability to feel pain because he just was so adamant about fire safety. He walks on poles, he's covered in asbestos. Maybe people have developed a little bit of a tolerance. Is that a thing you can do?
I'm gonna say it could be that they're not as affected by the asbestos, flaking off his shorts and impacting their ability to breathe as much as they were in the 2019 season. Maybe it's as simple as that. Their lungs have been trained up. You hear about TIE fighters kicking banana trees to strengthen their shins. Maybe this is the asbestos lung equivalent.
You know,
Breathe enough.
that is as good of a thought as any.
I
I find it really hard. And oh God, he's dropped him. Well, that might be the end of it. And oh, just a couple of shots, and our referee comes in to stop it.
What a violent finish for Miroslav Florislava.
And what? Yeah, that just shows that switch he can just turn on like that. He is a dangerous, dangerous man. And you know, he is now fighting perhaps from behind in the sense that he's only 1-1. That might be considered from behind for him. He is looking to put in just a heavy beating. And that moves him to 8 points. So still anyone's game as far as that goes. I think we're starting to see how these tables are going to shape up. It'll be interesting to see what the standings look like by the end of it. But Miroslav Florislava is your winner.
Big impressive finish. It was in the 3rd round, but you know that just shows his power stays with him late into the fight. That is a great knockout win.
Yeah, 4 points is it. 4 points, no matter what. That's those count. They add up. And what we are going to go ahead and tell you that coming up next, well, we have a couple fights, 2 more fights to go tonight. But coming up, our next show, bit of a break here, but we have the heavyweights back in action. And there's a couple really interesting battles in this one. I'm looking at Milgram versus Fescue. Should be amazing. Lehman versus Little 42. I'd say circle that one. That could be an interesting one.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, Little 42, you know, he's an interesting character, to put it mildly. You know, Layman is always dangerous, but 42, you know, he's surprised us in the past. You know, Milgram and Fescue, God, that's going to be a great fight.
I think so. That'll be a very fun one to watch. No doubt about that.
And you know,
sorry,
the more we see of him in the cage, the more I'm becoming a Handsome Jeff fan. He's got what it takes to win this whole thing. I think. I mean, it's early. I know.
Tough one, yeah. That'll be a very interesting fight. I think he's got a tough opponent in Gabe Donaghy, but I think it could be a very good win for him. That is going to happen on August 3rd, so a bit of a break. Get these fighters some chance to recover, as these fights do take a lot out of you, especially when you're doing it so briefly and so quickly, one after the other. However, coming up next, we have, you want to talk about newcomers. You're a big Handsome Jeff fan. I'm a big Walter Birch fan when it comes to these newcomers here in the Global Megafist 12. Walter Birch versus Zeke Apnea, the battle of 2-0 fighters. It's happening right now. one. Both fighters 2-0. Height and reach advantage for Walter Birch. I'd like to focus mostly on what Zeke Apnea says, where he just asks to let him sleep. I guess his room is next to where the talent show will be. So that's the same room as the karaoke room. Basically, all the loud events happen.
Yeah, it's.
Let's go, guys.
He did
Fight.
mention, that it's less of an impossibility to sleep than the underground fight club, but it's still not great.
Anyway, the very, very tired Zeke Apnea in his jammies gets a quick knockdown of Walter Birch and says, "Get back up." I don't know if the possibility that if he goes to the ground, he might be too tempted to fall asleep, and that's possibly a strategy, but 30 seconds into this one, Walter Birch has taken wins in his first 2 fights in the first round by, he submitted Ruben Fondant, and then he TKO'd in the first round Miroslav Borislava. That is a huge victory already under his belt. So Walter Birch is very much an early favorite in Group A, I must say.
Oh, Zeke trying for a judo throw, and Birch just too strong, too heavy, and he's looking for an arm triangle right now. Let's see if Zeke can shimmy out of it, or if he's gonna go to sleep, as it were.
Work for the key. Come on.
Nice escape from Zeke.
Perfect.
Very good. Again, and this is an interesting thing because Apnea, his wins tend to be via knockout.
Control his posture.
He doesn't go to the ground much. He doesn't really sort of ground and pound his way to victory. All 4 of his wins are via knockout or TKO, including a TKO over Cale Howard, and of course knocking out Ruben Fondant in his last fight. But this is a whole nother level of opponent, and he is bringing it. He is bringing that fight with a nice judo style, I think kind of a throw. He kind of just got the leg in, picked the ankle with his own ankle, and tripped open Walter Birch. That could have been enough to win a round.
Yeah, absolutely. Very, very good trip. But Birch, he's digging hard for this arm triangle. Let's see if he can cinch it in before the round goes. He's got under 20 to complete it.
Well, working under pressure is no problem for Zeke Apnea.
There you go, nice.
Or for Walter Birch at that moment. So again, looks like we'll go to the second round, which will be a first here in the Global MEGAFist 12 for Walter Birch. Both of his fights finished in the first round. He will go to a second round, so at most 5 points.
Right? You feel him open that guard. Bring out that combat knee. Get yourself
Up for grabs.
You start working that knee.
It looks like Zeke is refusing the stool, wanting to stay standing and I guess maybe stay a little more conscious and energized.
Yeah, they eventually convinced him, but you can see that it was an interesting sort of tactic. I never do understand that. I understand adrenaline and energy kind of just surging through your body. You don't want to let that kind of escape. But I mean, this is a short amount of time to rest, and you are not a trained fighter. You take that time to rest, is what I think.
Absolutely. I mean, sometimes it is mind games. Trying to play on your opponent. That look how fresh I am. I'm standing up.
Hey, 5 minutes of hell, tighten your punches up. The uppercut is there all day, but you
a lot of times
Are you ready?
It's kind of hubris to stand up and not take that that stool.
Let's go, guys. Fight.
To recover.
It does seem a bit, it does seem just a bit unnecessary and careless, I will say. But I don't think mind games are going to work on a man like Walter Birch. The man's job is to discipline other people's children. I don't think there is a way that man can be, as the kids say, shook in any sort of way. You cannot get into that man's brain and affect him. If you can go about and do that job without even questioning what you're doing with your life, then I don't think a little bit of mind games are going to work.
Big clinch elbow from Zeke. He is
really looking good.
He's got he did have Walter kind of stuck up against the fence there for a moment, but
it'd be a mistake to have let him go. I don't know if that was something that more he fought off.
Get that double going.
It is, but this is a good toe-to-toe battle. I will say, Apnea is looking fantastic in this one.
Patience,
Oh,
patience. She's
100%.
stepping
You know,
outside.
it's depending on how experienced you are, you know, stand up striking is not as an energy drain as grappling. You know, especially moving around, you know, your body weight, another person's body weight. You know, just punching and kicking is sometimes a little easier. And you know, maybe a guy like Apnea, you know, he feels that already energy depleted coming into a fight.
It
It's
just
it's
already
better.
feels that. Yeah, that's a good point. We have 1 minute to go here in the second round. Oh, and there's a big shot. Well,
Oh, wow.
oh, Birch just
All right,
slams
stop.
the right
Fight's over,
hand
fight's over, guys.
right on the jaw of Apnea. I don't care who you are. Anyone goes down when they get hit with a shot that hard.
Oh, that was a big one.
And Apnea is either having a nice snooze. He looks rather peaceful the way he's laying there. I'm going to ignore the fact that his right arm is still kind of hanging up in the air uncomfortably. That's probably the best for me not to think about that.
Yeah, just focus on Birch and trying to ignore the horrifying realities of this damage done to a person's brain.
Well, he does finish it off with a couple of extra punches that also not really necessary, but you know, you got to fight till the referee tells you to stop, and that is just the that is just the nature of Birch, how he how that man acts and how that man works. He has found a way to make it work. 17 out of a possible 18 points so far in this moment in this world. That is amazing for a newcomer.
Very impressive. You know, these guys from the IRMstream, they're just as good, just as dangerous as the more established fighters.
Yep. Well, I think that's just proving that all it is a matter of they're just getting noticed a little bit later than the original 12 in this weight class. Well, main event coming up right now. What more can we say? Rob Lynn, JC Switcher. It's happening now. Take for this main event, a huge rematch for these two men. DC Switcher has a height advantage and a reach advantage that is absolutely substantial. Rob Lynn is very cagey. In fact, he plans on looting all of our rooms during the talent show. Well, that's shoot. Better lock everything up.
That's just rude. I mean,
It is, but he's telling us he's going to do it. I mean, that's
Ready?
a
is
level
he gonna put it back?
Let's
And
fight!
just like show like, oh, I took this thing and then I'm putting it back?
I
Because
hope so.
if he
That's
keeps it,
all
I think everyone's just gonna kick his ass like for the next couple of months.
No doubt about
Right?
that. Well, again, I don't want to have a rooting interest in this, but maybe if Switcher wins,
Try to get a takedown if you can.
That seems unlikely, but I mean the man is Canada's best pickpocket. He is an outstanding expert at pickpocketry. So I would like to think that I like Rob Lynn. I think he's a very good fighter. I think I've never had a bad interaction with him. I'd like to think that he will, in fact, return it.
Keep moving.
It's more just a demonstration. That's what I'd like to believe. I have no reason to necessarily doubt or believe that. I'm going just on the honor
A
system.
couple jabs if he's back.
Yeah, I mean, I can't fault you for that logic there.
It will be a test of whether or not there is honor among thieves, because pickpockets are in fact thieves.
Tap, tap, and go hard low.
That being said, this is a rematch from the semifinals of last year's tournament. JC Switcher got the win, a TKO victory in the second round over Rob Lynn. Rob Lynn, who had spent the entirety of the group stage going undefeated. JC Switcher did not go undefeated the entirety of the group stage. However,
Nice and relaxed.
only one can after this one. They are both 2-0. This is a mouth. Once these two fighters got drawn into the same groups, it was them. It was going to be any combination of two between the two of them. Trevor Sereno, and I believe it was it McGinnis Swordhouse? No, it was Miroslav Florislava. So you were going to get two of those four in one group anyway, and it was just going to be outstanding. So I'm very happy to see that here.
Yeah, this has been an incredible back and forth stand-up war so far. I mean, these guys are just laying big, heavy shots into each other's bodies and faces.
And they are, and oh, big. Well, I think that's the first big strike right there is a big knockdown by Lynn. He strikes the first one. That could be enough to win a round. You don't want to imagine that either of these fighters are going to go to a decision, especially with someone like Lynn going for a submission. They are really pulling on all the stops in this one.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, anything to, even if you don't get it, I think this submission is enough to sway the judges and get that get those points marked on your name in the scorecard.
I would have to agree with you, Lucille. That is a huge
statement
to be made.
Bop, bop, and hit it.
I think Lynn easily
if you're
took
not
that
gonna go,
round.
we're outside of his range.
No doubt about that one. That is
3-2.
That's a
He's
10-9
looking for that
round for
uppercut.
Lynn.
All right.
That is
He's running backwards.
That is a KG
So you're gonna have
sort
to
of
keep
nature
jabbing
of
in.
a pickpocket.
You're gonna have to throw your
You
right
go and you steal
short
around.
and then follow it again.
Yeah, I mean, that's...
There's no better analogy for it than that.
Yeah, it was super close. He tripped Switcher and, finished the round on top, finished with a submission attempt. That looks pretty dominant when everything else is so razor thin.
That could be the again. You don't want to assume that it's going to go to a decision. You still want to fight for the decision. You still want to fight for the finish.
Don't go for the big
But you never can tell. It's always good to bank around and just say, no, I've got this one.
Oh, absolutely. The points are the big thing. But if you can't finish your opponent because he's so tough, I mean, it's hard for either guy to get finished. I mean, these are very top level fighters here in the Global MEGAFist.
I agree with you on that one. And here we go. Well, they're both, again, it starts on its feet, which is how every fight starts, of course. But you don't want to see these fights go to the ground because they're amazing strikers. They have such talent. And they just have the ability to concuss and destroy opponents with one strike. You just gotta wonder if that can be a head kick that almost put away Switcher.
Yeah, it's a game of millimeters here. I mean, the slightest mistimed dodge or weave, the slightest mistake is going to open up something that can put someone's lights out.
Which is even more amazing because we saw how Lynn gives up a height and a reach disadvantage to Switcher, but he never seems to fight like he has this disadvantage.
His head movement, his sense of timing is so good, and as we mentioned earlier in the broadcast, the skills of a lot of these guys, normal jobs, as it were, has translated some better than others, and a sense of timing, a sense of how physically close you are to someone that you're trying to pickpocket. That seems it has definitely helped Rob Lynn know when to get in and when to get out of a striking exchange, when to move into and out of the pocket. I mean, he's putting on a great performance here.
He certainly is. I think he's looking. Both fight. And again, and we talk about that. JC Switcher as well is, again, he's one of those ones that has he spends all day basically standing in a store window, holding completely still. That is a man that takes discipline. That is a man who has cardio. That is a man who has stamina. And that is a man who has nothing but time on his hands to think. He has that just discipline that he just it proves to be a very good thing. Lynn drops him. This could be it.
Big shots from Lynn.
Oh well, again, we're talking about stealing rounds. That could be another stolen round. And it's hard to even say because it's almost disrespectful to say stolen, except when we're talking about Rob Lynn, because that I wouldn't. Using the term stolen round, that's not really a stolen round. That was so even. It just took that last
get a little more active
effort at the end.
Keep that
That
range.
was what was the difference
When you're
maker.
throwing your punches,
It's
and he's
almost
catching them,
disrespectful
he's
to
out
call it
wide.
stolen,
You
except
can
when
come
we're
up
talking
with
about
the
pick
uppercut. Okay, so you've got to
Yeah,
stay on
absolutely.
balance.
I
You've
mean,
got to
it's
keep
it's
moving
I guess
forward
more
while you're
akin
punching,
to
and you can't
two
stop
people
in one
made
place.
a
When
hot fudge
you're done
sundae and
punching, you're
one
moving.
added a
Okay?
cherry
You're
on
moving.
top, and that's what makes it just that slightly bit better. I mean, this is just such evenly matched, such a close fight that these brief moments, these brief, lapses from Switcher are all that it takes to
Difference maker, yeah.
yeah
100%. I would have to agree with you on that one. It's a very tightly contested fight. If we go to the scorecards, it may not look that way. It may look like 2 rounds to nothing in favor of Rob Lynn, but
Ready?
the other, it's for 5 seconds he does enough to win that fight, to win that round. However, on the other side of it, for 4 minutes, 4 minutes and 50 seconds of the rest of this fight, it's a toss-up. It is 50-50.
Hey, you got to throw your jabs, man.
You got to imagine Switcher's corner, if they know anything enough, they're going to tell him to go for this win, to go for broke.
yeah 100%. I think he's got to get a finish to win this one, but that's going to be easier said than done. And it looks like Lynn is looking to get a finish too. He doesn't want to leave it in the hands of the judges.
Never can tell.
Okay.
Again, it's just not in his nature to let the judges decide on that. It's just the man has not seen a decision. In fact, and again, and if there's anything that is a man who can defeat Lynn, it's JC Switcher, and just like that, and we say that he takes control of this one. Could that be enough to finish? It is.
Oh my gosh!
What a turn of fortune
Wow.
for JC Switcher. The defending champion shows why he won it in the first place.
Goodness. Perfect timing. You stand there modeling clothes and you just get an innate sense of timing. And he moved in, landed that shot, dropped Lynn, and finished him on the ground. What a fight.
Absolutely an outstanding display from JC Switcher. And Rob Lynn, well, again, it's unfortunate that someone has to lose that fight, but that is the fight game. And what a way, what an exclamation point to put on a title defense. We don't really talk about that too much with the guys who won it last year. They are effectively defending their title. They just have to do it all over again. And JC Switcher, well, he showed that he is willing to do that.
Yeah, that was wow. That's an incredible performance from Switcher. That's an early consideration for fight of the year, in my opinion.
No
for,
doubt about
Global Mega.
No doubt about that, Lucille. It has been a huge night, capped off with the biggest of results in that one. Let's talk us through the results tonight. Walter Birch continues his winning ways, needed to do it in the second round for the first time. He took out Zeke Apnea. Cale Howard fell again to Miroslav Florislava and Trevor Sereno. Puts 3 strong fighters in good position. Let's see how that fits as far as the standings. Walter Birch is starting to pull away with this one, Lucille, but look at that, 2 through 4. Of course, in 4th place. Second place is up for grabs for these 2 fights to go for any of these fighters.
Yeah, I mean, again, points in play, early finishes. Florislava could easily leapfrog, Sereno and Apnea. I'm looking at our next bouts on the 31st of August.
Yeah, Fondant. Fondant versus Howard. That's the relegation fight. That's
Yeah,
exactly
honestly,
what that is.
all of these fights for Group A are very important. Fondant versus Howard is gonna, as you said, determine who is relegated. Sereno and Birch, I mean, that could definitely determine who makes that second place. Same as Florislav and Apnea. I mean, so much at stake. You know, if Sereno could somehow pull off the upset over Birch, but doesn't finish him, and is just a few points short. I mean, so many possibilities to break down. That's why I love Global Megafist and these points.
Yeah, it's a great system. It truly decides who will be at the top and who will reign supreme in this. And we are seeing, well, let's take a look at Group B in the same way. JC Switcher with that big win. Swordhouse took it the decision victory. Charlie Valentine, interesting thing, not a lot of points going around. 3, 4, and 4. Keeps things very tight in Group B. It's a very different story here. Charlie Valentine with his win goes atop Rob Lynn. Deputy Snooter Magnum in 4th. Beginner's Swordhouse in 5th. Rear Sergeant Val Gibbs in 6th. Everyone is very much alive in this one. I think Gibbs and Swordhouse are starting to battle to stay off the bottom. But look at that. That is very attainable movements for any fighter in the next episode with 2 fights to go.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, Switcher at the top of the table, but not by much. You know, Valentine, I don't want to count out a troop the caliber of Rear Sergeant Val Gibbs, but a quick finish of Gibbs by Valentine, and you know, he could easily jump Switcher for first place. You know, Magnum, Swordhouse, Gibbs. Who knows who's going to end up at the bottom? It just takes, you know, one win for Gibbs. A first round. If he finishes, you know, Valentine in the first round, he's breathing a lot easier.
He's up into 4th place. He's with 6 points. That's the beauty of this and how that works.
Absolutely. This is a great setup. We've got these this Group B standings. I mean, both lightweight groups are so wide open. So much can happen on episode 12. I can't wait. I'm very disappointed. It's over a month and a half away.
Well, again, we have to wait till August for our next episode of the Global Megafist 12. But that's the beauty of it. We get one after the other. As we get to the 4th stage of the group stage, we get ever so close to crowning our 2020 champions. The heavyweights are up next. Perkins versus Donahue. Milgram versus Fescue. Bolt versus Zoltan. That is one side of it. Adder versus Sweats. Rodenta versus Tonic. And Lehman versus Lil 42. It's going to be a great one. I mean, I know we have to wait a while for these lightweights to come back into action. Lucille, we've got the heavyweights back in it here. And that's going to be our next time we join us here for the Global Megafist 12. So at least there's a little bit of a bright spot in the sense that we have some very dangerous heavyweights up next.
100%, Derek. I mean, anytime the big fellas grace the octagonal-like cage structure, it's a high point. I mean, looking at this, it's a lot of great fights. I've got August 3rd circled on my calendar, and you know, it's all that's keeping me going at this point.
That's the only thing I have on my calendar at this point is that. I'm trying to get signals from anything else to watch something, but that's kind of where we are. Well, we thank you so much for joining us. This has been the Global Megafist 12. We will be back at the start of August, so we'll be off for a bit as we try to find a way to keep ourselves sane and entertained here on this ship, the Atzapadalin. We are going north, so that's an interesting thing to talk about, I suppose. It scares me a little bit, but we are going north, even though we are on the Mississippi, so that's strange and new. So maybe we'll figure out that. We'll figure out where we're actually on our way to. But until then, thank you so much for joining us. We'll be back next time with more Global Megafist 12. Most glorious and honorable Mr. Naga, please help us, get us somewhere. I don't know what to even say. But we are here on the fight deck. The fight deck is real. The fight boat is real. And we'll see you next time.